T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Trap Talk Reptile Network, coolest reptile network in the world, episode 575. Beautiful Thursday night. We got Dave Levinson, that last Dave Levinson episode of 2024. I'm very excited. So shout out to everyone in the building tonight. Letting you guys know, of course, tomorrow, reminder, okay, the very first live out of the Morph Market platform on YouTube. Please do me a favor right now. Head over to Morph Market on YouTube. All right, and set your reminder for tomorrow's episode happening 9 a.m. tomorrow Pacific Standard Time, okay? I'm sitting down with Mark Bailey of Mark Bailey Reptiles, 40-plus year full-time reptile keeper, longtime Morph Market member, has been using Morph Market for, since it's been out, and also has a lot to say as far as the shipping goes. Just a lot to cover tomorrow, and a lot of maybe unanswered questions for anyone out there who's wondering about Morph Market shipping. Listen, you don't want to miss this, okay? So tomorrow, 9 a.m., Friday, from the Morph Market YouTube channel. Set your reminder. But what is good? I'm your boy, MJ. Hope everyone's having a good week, man. Thursday, we made it, right? Almost at the end. You got to admit, once you get to Thursday night, Trap Talk's on, it's like a Friday. You know what I'm saying? And we always know Thursday nights are like a Friday night because it's nothing but good fun on a Thursday night. And again, I'm excited for having Dave Levinson in the building tonight. Shout out to everyone in the chats, live chats. If you're in the live chats tonight, you think that tonight's worth of any super chats, drop a super chat, especially if you have a question or a certain topic, or if you want anything to get known on the big screen, then please drop a super chat. I will not miss it, man. I want to say thank you to anyone out there who's supporting US ARC. If you don't know what US ARC is, simply click the third link in the description below, become a US ARC member today. Help these numbers increase, because these numbers really do matter when it comes to legislations and stuff happening in people's counties, you know, and you never know when it's going to be your county. So act now. All right. Become a US ARC member today. And again, shout out to you if you support US ARC. Please talk about US ARC, all right? Especially if you have a platform and you're very vocal on it. Please shout out US ARC, and shout out to anyone out there, again, supporting US ARC or US ARC Florida. Phil Goss, you do amazing things. And anyone out there who's a part of the US ARC team doing beautiful things. Listen, here we go. Reptile Super Show. Shout out to the sponsor tonight, the Reptile Super Show, happening January 11th and 12th. I cannot stress enough about how important it is to attend a Reptile Super Show. January is popping, okay, here in SoCal. All right, if you want to see what kind of productions that I've been producing, good chance you can check out exactly everything I made this year will be, other than the chondros, obviously, but everything that I made ball python-wise will be coming to the Reptile Super Show, all right? I'm bringing nothing but that heat. I got buddies flying in who are bringing some of that heat. All right, I believe another couple of homies are vending on each side of me. So listen, it's going to be quite the row of vendors just in my area, not to mention all the other homies who are going to be vending at the Reptile Super Show. I'm telling you, right now is the time to see what people have and to negotiate these prices, because, we're in that era. Don't be a fool, man. Go to Reptile Super Show. I know firsthand some of the best people in the game vend at the Reptile Super Show, so I'm very proud to vend at a show like this. And again, Reptile Super Show, Pomona, happening January 11th and 12th. You could go to reptilesupershow.com, get your tickets there. You could also book your room at the hotel right there at the Sheraton, which is cracking. Check out all your favorite breeders that kick it at the Sheraton. It's going to be a good time. So anyways, thank you, Rami. Thank you to everyone who works at this Reptile Super Show and helps throw such an amazing show. It's going to be quite the time. I cannot wait. Shout out to the Conduit Constrictor family. Steve and Steven do amazing work by the ball pythons and have invested the right way with some of the top tierest ball python projects. And I would say, first and foremost, the right incomplete dominance for sure. So Conduit Constrictors, check them out on Instagram. Up and comers for sure, has made quite the name for themselves this year already. And I think next year is going to be a good year for them as well. So thank you so much to the Conduit family. And again, Conduit Constrictors on IG and on YouTube. Check them out. Tonight's episode is also brought to you by Clutch, #1 ball python organization app in the game. Come into this ball python game different from all the laziness. that you could see around you. You know what I'm saying? Stay organized, stay fresh, stay cutting edge, use Clutch. #1 app for sure. Love the color coding that they have going on. Very easy to use once you become, once you start logging on and start using it first and foremost. So thank you again, everyone out there in Clutch, and for supporting the channel, and looking forward to continuing our partnership in 2025. Again, guys, Clutch, #1 ball python app. You can also head over to Instagram, follow them, and head over to their website in the description below. And last but not least, I just want to say shout out to the Chipper. All right, Coco Dude, #1 substrate in the game. Head over to cocodude.com, put in TrapFam24 and get 24% off your entire Chipper order. That's right. Anything that you have in your cart, if you put in TrapFam24, 24% off the entire order. So again, you can check out all the links to my sponsors in the description below. Shout out to all my sponsors. Shout out to everyone in the chats. And of course, if you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to get more out of what you see at each episode, you want to tap into an awesome Discord, an amazing Instagram group chat, please come join the Trap Talk Patreon family. You can do that by clicking the first link in the description below. All right. And shout out to my Patreon members. I love you guys. Big things popping next year. That's a fact. And I cannot believe we're already in December, man. We are in the wrap-up part of 2024. It's wild, and it's going to get even more wild because, guys, Dave Levinson is ready to go. All right, we're going to be tapping in Dave right now. So everyone tapping in right now. You guys are real ones. Thanks for being here. But it's that time, man. Do what you got to do to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. Episode 575, Dave Levinson. We're talking about the future with my man Dave. Let's go.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crowd, God love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
And he's back. Dave Levinson on a Thursday night. What's up, Dave? My man.
How's it going, bud?
Look at your video, and like your audio is fucking on point. This is I can't remember the last time I personally got to enjoy a podcast with quite the visual and the audio that we're about to hear tonight.
Appreciate it. Honestly, it's all because of you. You made me spend $50.
Dude, okay, no, but for reals, you had a phone. You had who was that?
That was a sneeze. She won't do that again.
Oh my Lord, Jesus Christ, that was scary. You had this phone that you're using now that works great, like in a drawer somewhere. I thought, wasn't this an extra phone that you were using, or what's going on? Because
It's like the last one that they didn't take from me that's got like a cracked screen. But I got that Samsung 24, and I just don't know why it doesn't work for this. It's killing me.
so you bought a new phone for the purpose of having a better video and audio quality. and then it ended up not working out. It's all good because now it's working out now. That's which all that matters.
Now we know.
Yeah, how you living, man? Listen, glad to have you here tonight. Quite the year. I mean, I just feel like I really want to have you here to talk about 2024. I don't know. We didn't really talk much as far as what you've done overall, breeding wise. I think it wasn't really a breeding year for you this year, or can we talk about that and kind of get that out of the way?
No, it was a breeding year, just a little bit lighter than I've done in the past. Honestly, the boa year is in full swing. The ball pythons are creeping in. I think I've got one ovulation on the ball python side, which seems really on the low side, but I gave him a long break over the summer. On the boa side, I'm somewhere between 6 to 8 ovulations, which is a little early on my season. Usually I start hitting heavy litters around like Easter, and that would mean ovulations more towards the end of this month. So going a little early, which is nice. First ovulation, I'm really excited about. I've missed out on the last couple of years. I gave her the year off last year. She always goes earlier than everybody else, but stayed on top of it this year. Got a good ovulation. Might be my best litter of the year. I'm not going to talk about it till it's on the ground. I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, I mean, I know how that goes. But you would say that all the species you've worked and still work with today, do you feel like Boas is your bread and butter and something that you're most confident about when it comes to like breeding and whatnot?
Honestly, yeah, they keep me probably the most motivated sometimes. Those big litters with boa constrictors, you can get those oddballs in there.
Yeah.
Not that we don't get oddballs in ball pythons, but there's so many variables in the pattern for boa constrictors. I feel like there's always something I want to hold back in every litter, but you just can't,
Yeah, I hear you. So, what was the big reason behind not breeding so much this year? I mean, I think obviously we know why a lot of people aren't breeding a lot. It's not the era right now to breed as much as you can, but for you personally, what was the reason?
A little bit of leftover stock from last year. Sales weren't necessarily bad, but high end sold really well. Mid range kind of sat around a little longer. Low end did pretty good, but I kind of want to ease up on the shows also. The last couple seasons I've spent so much time on the road doing shows every week, and I haven't had the most consistent years.
Yeah.
Me not going as hard this fall and really backing off in the summertime, right away shows on the boas. I missed out on some boa stuff because again, I get distracted by just trying to worry about the overhead, I guess you could say. But honestly, just a better year for it all the way around. Paying a lot more attention, less distractions. How about that?
Yeah, and listen, I know there was one point during the year you were vending pretty consistently, and then it just stopped. Is that because it's kind of a seasonal thing for you when it comes to vending, or?
Oh, definitely seasonal. I usually take the summers off. At least I did in the past. The last couple of years, I didn't take the summers off. But no, typically come summertime, a little past tax season, I like to kind of ease off the shows. I'm sure if you talk to any promoter, they'll talk about how good the attendance is in the fall and how it does slow down in the summertime. We spend our money on a lot of different things. We're not going to as many shows as we normally do, and that's more from the other side of the table. So it picks up right about now. I think this weekend they got a big showdown in Kansas City. I'm not gonna be able to make it out there, and it's only about 3 hours away, but I know I'm gonna get out to the next one. But no, like I said, I miss going out, but I don't think you're gonna see me till Tinley.
As far as vending a show?
Vending, maybe not even vending. Honestly, just seeing me in general. I don't think I have anything on the books till March, and that's just me attending Tinley.
How'd the Tinleys go for you this year?
I actually didn't set up it either. I did pre-order deliveries and just kind of went and hung out and relaxed. Usually my Tinleys are based on my boa production. If I have a really good boa year, I love to be set up at Tinley when I have the opportunity. If my boa year is not that good and I'm dependent on certain ball python projects, a lot of times I just take the weekend off and just do deliveries.
I bought my most expensive boa ever from you at I think it was Arlington. I forget. But
yeah, it was Arlington shows when I was on the back wall.
And man, you had a bunch of fucking amazing shit that day, man. I remember I came and interrupt you as you were putting substrate into the inside the setups. You were like basically setting up. And I was talking to you, I was just looking at stuff, and I was like, by then, I remember by then I was so overdue for an IMG, and I wanted an IMG so bad. And you had quite the display of IMGs there. And I remember back then, I don't even think financially I was in a position to spend $1,200, but I didn't give a fuck. I really liked that snake. And I did it. And I don't know what happened, but you ended up having to send me another one, which fucking was just such a beautiful snake, man. But that started my whole obsession confirmed with the boa constrictors, which you definitely helped me with. But I will say, from somebody who's seen your displays completely filled with some of your work, impressive. I love it. I love definitely one of my favorite tables to drool over, especially if you're a boa guy. Other than Vin Russo, your table's it's pretty tits, bro. So I get it.
I appreciate that.
I understand why the stock to you needs to be there. You know what I mean? It's like a standard.
Yeah. No, 100%. I've been really fortunate to get in some of the boa projects, and there's been a couple animals, I'm sure understand that in your collection that you pick up along the way that really were like a big turning point. Whether financially, where you're able to reinvest back into the projects. I always go back to the red rum. It's a pastel line in boas. I got it in the VP project or the VPI project early. I think I paid $5,000 for a male with a partner of mine when normal VPIs I think were selling for $1,200. And it took me 2 years to produce another one that looked as good as that one, and I got $5,000 for that animal. So honestly, that was huge, and really probably one of the better things that happened to me in boa constrictors that really made a big change.
Money, like what's crazy about you, Dave, and obviously we know money's important, right? But like ever since I've known you, I felt like you've like that was never something I ever felt like you were aiming for all the time was money. Because I've seen you from the beginning have so many opportunities to make like other money than breeding, like you know what I mean. But I just feel like you've just kind of just been in your zone and just doing your thing. I don't know.
Well, I don't want to put it as enough to survive, but I've always done well enough, and I feel like I've always had a collection around me that I've been happy with. So on that side of things, I just don't really think about the other things. Even my truck right now, when I roll up, that thing's looking rough, buddy. It really looks good in the parking lots at like a Motel 6 because it's the worst car in the parking lot, and no one fucks with the worst car in the parking lot in a Motel 6. But no, there's certain things in life I should probably put some money into, but honestly, it's usually gone back into the animals, and man, they're expensive. Shit, dog food, man. Bet you I'm spending $200 a month on dog food, and one of these dogs isn't even mine.
I mean, it's just kind of just the love of the animal type of thing, which could kind of like get carried away if you let it. And I understand that, but the thing is, and obviously this doing this for as long as you have, but like I love that we can make any kind of money off the snakes we make, but it's so unpredictable now. Like, and what I mean by that, it's like you get in the zone, you kind of get these waves where you got money coming in, and it would be great if those waves were like that all the time. But you realize that these waves are different size waves. Some are bigger than others. And then some you don't get for a long time, and then you're just kind of like, fuck, like looking around and just, you got a lot of stock, you got shit that's not going. And so, I mean, I'm always terrified for people who just rely on breeding snakes because like right now, like, I don't know, how do you feel like overall? And yeah, I think market's getting better, but like, what's your overall gut feeling economy wise, and then going into 2025 with the ball python boa market, the reptile market,
Well, honestly, I think Bitcoin hitting $100,000 is a good sign for just anything in general. I always feel like when the stock market's doing good, the industry does a little better.
Yeah.
Personally, I believe in down years for people, but there's a lot of people in this industry that have been doing it for 20 plus years that I feel like have been pretty consistent and have a pretty good understanding of what the highs and lows are. Yeah. For people that kind of got in during the COVID rush, that was one of the biggest peaks I think I've seen in the hobby in a long time. I think a lot of people will agree with that. And it created certain markets. I think for me, and I bring it up a lot, but the Ractodactylus market. Crested gecko breeders were really hesitant on spending $2,500 on an Axanthic before COVID, but then during COVID, we saw lily white Axanthics being sold for $37,000. I've never seen a market explode like that, and there were a couple other ones too for your common, not so common stuff that jumped up. Even in ball pythons, I think there's some projects in ball pythons that actually peaked pretty good. The Mardi Gras went from like $750 to $1,250 during COVID, which is a little jump, but they were selling so well, you were able to ask that. Lavender pieds went up to, I think, almost $2,000 on females during COVID. Prior to COVID, I want to say they were maybe as low as $800 to $1,200 on that animal.
Yeah.
So, there was such a good rush in the hobby, like there weren't a lot of other hobbies. It wasn't that there was like a falsehood to that in the hobby, but the realization is, we do get waves like that, and that was something special. And me leading up into COVID, hearing about how things were going to shut down, me worrying about not being able to go to shows, I would have thought our market was going to suffer, and honestly, it really thrived.
So it's funny you bring up that Axanthic Lily White or that whole situation that went down, because that guy Brian, Altitude Exotics, shout out to Brian, did the most craziest like Black Friday sale that I've ever seen, where like he was basically giving free geckos away. Like, you buy one, get, I don't want to say it was any free gecko, but it was like enough to where this motherfucker nearly sold out. So to go to that one extreme where you have people flying in from other countries and giving you 6 figures, right? To like, now I can't sell this shit. I'm going to run such a crazy promo where I can lower the stock. I mean, isn't that a genius move? Like, isn't that pretty smart? Like, exactly what we're talking about, having to survive in a time like this. Was that a smart move doing that? What he did, you think?
I think anytime you move animals and you're happy with what you're bringing in and you're not fucking over investors, I think it's a good thing. I would hate to do something crazy. I think when the auctions first started showing up on Morph Market, my only advice was don't sell an investable animal on there if you just sold it to an investor. Somebody just dropped big money with you and then they watched that animal go for a quarter of the price on an auction. I think that was bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with the gecko thing, like you said, I think moving animals is key. I think we get a little clever along the way. And I think sometimes, again, the realization of what it's really worth when you're trying to sell it.
I've said this all year, but do you think the biggest problem with some of the COVID breeders having to pack it up is because they got to the point where they are producing animals, which are probably the best animals they could produce, but they're needing to sell them versus holding them back and being able to just not worry about making money off of them and just keep them for yourself because it's the smartest thing to do?
Well, here's the thing. First off, people that came in during COVID, what a fortunate time to come in the hobby, because honestly, I think we were peaking on a lot of projects. Those opportunities those guys bought in during COVID, those are projects they're actually still going pretty strong right now, to be honest with you. So yeah, they do have very unique collections. Every last one of them does, and they're all investment animals. Yeah, you're always going to want to hold stuff back. Yeah, you're always going to have to reinvest in what you're doing. You just got to kind of find the balance in that. I know I got a conversation coming up pretty good with Chad Halker soon, but during COVID, if anybody knew his collection leading into it and then after it, like huge transformation. He saw the writing on the wall. He saw where some of the big money was going. And I mean, you keep an eye on Chad's stuff. I mean, he has a lot of real current stuff. The DG pastel puzzle, absolutely unbelievable looking animal. And that's all happened because of what he was able to accomplish during COVID, whether it was going out and buying new stuff or selling so much that he had enough money to invest back in. So you just kind of have to find the balance. There was a few times where Chad had pretty big offers on animals, and when he said no, I got angry. And then I see him use that same animal this year and make all that money in one sale and still have stock left, that he could sell moving forward. So he turned on that big payday on day one, but he's made all that money and some in that project, and he's in a great spot in the hobby because of it. So you got to find the balance.
Chad really well. That guy grinds, bro. Chad fucking grinds. Like, he grinds. Like, I don't stop.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think Chad's got it right. I think he's got a good size collection that he knows he can maintain. He's never, I think he did like 59 clutches on this past year. But again, everything is stellar. So between his balance of his kids, working at the fire station, and when he has time to work with his animals, he's got a balance, and it shows.
All right, got a hot topic for you. Ready?
Get it?
Kyle Hoffman.
See.
Quite the episode. Thank you for being a part of that. I got a little bit of backlash, a little bit. Nothing like where, nothing I can't handle on my own. But let me ask you something, Dave. Okay, because I feel like I'm good at reading people sometimes, and I know that everyone is their own, right? Everyone's different. Like, I love you exactly for who you are, and you know what? I'm starting to love me for who I am. I didn't love who I was for a long time, but I am starting to love who I am, and I think that's a good thing, right? You should love who you are, right? But I like Kyle. Like, I mean, I don't know his past. I don't, and I don't want to say I don't care, but like, I know the guy's passionate. Like, I know when he talks about certain things, he's coming from a point of view where he like legit has huge passion on that topic, right? But for whatever reason, like the upper tier breeder category, and I'm not saying everybody, right? But he doesn't really fit in with them well. And I'm just curious, why would that be? Like, what is your knowledge behind that?
Honestly, I think anybody that's opinionated is probably going to get a little flank from somebody. I think that goes on a lot of things. Honestly, I think in that podcast, one thing I kept on bringing up, the similarities of the fact that, Trick and Hurricane and Blitz have all kind of been, they're the same. And, I talked about the investment into that, but, how the hobby really benefited that there was a $7,000 Hurricane, because we would never have done those combos with Trick. And thank God we went that route, because Hurricane are making a lot of these combos a lot better. But, in the process of having that conversation, I was stressed out about Hans, who started that Hurricane project. I don't think he thought he just had something that we already had here, because he had done things we never saw before. But I felt a little bad about having that opinion during there. So a guy like Kyle that has a lot more opinions than me, I'm sure he triggers somebody now and again, but you know me, I don't really give a fuck about that kind of stuff. And I don't think I've ever read the comments on a video. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, good on you. You're not missing much. And I'm the same way now. I don't fucking give two shits, but I will say this, like, I do appreciate someone who's been around as long as Kyle, who will at least keep it 100 or at least speak, something on the matter, because you got a lot of people who are the most vocal. And even myself, I haven't been around that long. You know what I'm saying? So when you have someone who has concrete fucking feet into this game, who have a strong opinion, but I see how that could be dangerous too. You know what I'm saying? Because when you are in that realm, I don't know. It's like a game. It's like the next level game of chess up there, Well,
and obviously, how about this?
Go ahead.
It's hard to have a lot of friends in this hobby, because when you have a lot of friends, one of your friends probably fucked your other friend over at some point, and your friends are going to hold it against you for knowing them. Like, that's just the way it is. So with Kyle, regardless of what the reason is for people having hangups on what he's saying, I mean, I don't know if I remember the podcast so well that there was a moment in there that we should have been stressed out about, or he should have been. I don't know, man.
At all, no.
I'm not really stressed either. The conversation I don't think was a negative in any way. I don't remember us attacking anybody in the video. Like, some people just aren't going to like things that people say. I mean, I keep on telling you I want to have Ben Cole on sometime, and you keep on telling me it's a bad idea, and I'm still probably going to do it.
I don't tell you it's a bad idea. I don't even know the whole story of the Ben Cole guy.
No, well, he's not a bad guy unless, he's been a bad guy to you. So, it's just one of those things. But again, when you know a lot of people in the hobby, one guy's going to rub the other guy the wrong way. So you got to tread lightly.
I know. I mean, you're kind of preaching to the choir on that one, but I don't tread lightly. I just have heavy feet. I think because I'm flat-footed, right? Flat-footed.
Okay.
People walk heavy. I think my wife hates
Could
it.
be
Whatever. What are you gonna do? We got stairs, and I walk like I'm walking up the stairs. When MJ's walking up the stairs and walking down. But anyways, listen. I gotta say, well, first off, how much of the ball python game have you been paying attention to this year?
As much as possible. What's the question?
Well, you've heard a lot about like I feel like paint's been more talked about this year than I've heard. I don't know how long, right? And you had a great episode not too long ago with oh my God, what's the name of that couple? Sweet couple.
Marion Grant.
What's the name of their company though? What do they go by? I forget.
Wrecking Ball.
Wrecking Ball. Cool name. I like that name.
Okay, good logo too. Pinup girl.
I will say, like, the example what I'm bringing up with paint is something that I feel like gives a lot of hope for the ball python game, is because you're talking about something that has created so much conversations on all podcast platforms around the reptile world about a project that's been around for, you said, what, 15 years? Paint's been around for now, right?
20 years, I think.
20 years?
Yeah, I think about 20 years.
So I want to know your take on a gene like that, as far as how it takes 20 years. You know what I mean? Like how is something like that taking 20 years to come to the forefront, where we do have a lot of things to work with in the ball python game? And do you think there's a lot more than just paint that's about to start blossoming here soon?
Well, I've said it recently. It took 20 years for DG to become relevant. It was not necessarily a throwaway gene. I think every collection probably had some paint or some DG in it, but it wasn't something that people were striving to get in every project. Paint kind of was in the same thing, but we got so controlled by codoms in this hobby for so long because they were so lucrative, and there were so many new, really unique things coming out. We're now we do have new things coming out, but if it's not like incredibly over the top, like are people really that inclined to overly invest in the codon nowadays? So now that we are again more recessives, we're gonna go back and fuck with some stuff. Tri-stripe. We're all the tri-stripe combos, man. That project's probably been around for as long, if not longer, than paint. And that's a very unique pattern mutation that no one's figured out what to do with yet. So I think all the recessives, Xanthic too, man. Xanthic was throwaway. All of a sudden, the Xanthic DG stuff is soaring in price. And again, that was taking two animals that were $200 just 10 years ago and putting them together and making animals, I think, that were sold for well over $10,000. And in some of the triple recessives, I heard even bigger offers over 30 or 40. So I don't know. I like the way the hobby's going right now. I think we have some of the best ball pythons being produced right now because we're putting thought into it. I say it all the time. And I do know that there are still a lot of really good people out, or really good investments happening. Good people that are out there buying it. But I mean, I still hear some really high dollar sales out there in a lot of different projects. Paint being one of it. I'm still zebra. People are still going after monsoon clown stuff. I've been hearing people going after. And again, puzzle stuff, man. I'm hearing puzzle sales over $10,000 in the right combo. So across the board, as much as we think like the hobby's maybe not doing that great, I think right now it's just be more creative, figure out a new direction to turn people onto. Paint was not super looked at until Grant and Mary made the yellow belly calico paint. And honestly, the moment that animal was produced and they got out there, I think that's when the resurgence of paint happened in the hobby. And that was about 5 or 6 years ago. So, everything's got its time. Takes the right animal for people who want to invest their money into it, though.
What do you think? What do you think? Paint, like, what do you think? What other recessive that's going to really kind of take paint to that next like extreme level? You feel like I'm talking the mainstream level.
Well, here's the thing: the clown paints are definitely getting attention. That's one of the few things out there outside of like hypo being a recessive. I'm not even sure if I've seen an Xanthic yet. Even your base model people are still teasing with. I mean, we've seen nothing put in codon wise when it comes to the base model. I like what the paint is doing with the clown. There was a couple combos I wasn't that impressed with, so I do think we'll have to dial it back on some of the stuff. And just like most paint combos, I don't think every paint clown combo is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I think hypo, general colors getting put into it. I think smart. I do think the DG hypo paint will be amazing. But paint, in my opinion, is a difficult project to combo out sometimes because you can dilute everything about it because it's just, a little action on the sides. Even the tri-stripe, I feel like it's in the same category. So I think with both those projects, like you remember when Clown found Spotnose and then all of a sudden we have everything we're seeing in Clown right now and a lot of it has Spotnose in it. It's just two genes that together really makes everything better. I don't know what that codon with paint is going to be. And I don't know, I'm going to say incomplete dominant this time because I'm going to try not to say codon anymore, but the incomplete dominant that we need to put with the tri-stripe project that's going to always make that stripe bold and consistent, it'll just be like, again, Spotnose and Clown. So I like what Blitz does in the paint project. I think it makes it a lot more busy. Trick, however we want to put it. I like the blackhead. I like the cypress in that. I thought it created a little more definition to that pattern. Pick one of those genes and build on there. But again, figure out what we like about it. I don't know. You know what I'm ranting on about, but I just think that we need to find the right things for those projects. And the moment we do, I think they'll take off like any other project. But already right now, people are investing in both those projects.
It's crazy how any project that is on fire, it could just in a heartbeat go to shit. I'm seeing it happen right now firsthand with some projects. Just
name one.
Ooh, you sure?
Yeah, throw it out there because then I'll give you a reason why.
All right, I don't want to mix it up because I know I do have a network that primarily talks a lot about ball pythons, but I do forget certain morphs that make certain things like what makes the Kiki? Is that the G stripe or tri stripe that makes the Kiki with Clown?
Oh, the Kiki, that's the genetic stripe.
That thing's, I'm sorry, bro. That's a dead end project right there.
Not going to do it for you?
Genetic stripe is a dead end project. Yeah.
So here's the thing. I do think that genetic stripe is a dead end project because it's been a dead end project for a long time. It's very easy to knock that stripe out. I saw a lot of bad combos.
Yeah.
I didn't, Tracy Barker and their bragging post on the VPI website back in the day had one of those on there. And I think it was like 2014 or 15. Yeah. And when I looked at it, I was like, It's exactly what I thought it would look like, and I didn't really give a shit.
And you know what's okay? Listen, Mark Bailey's one of my best friends, and whenever Mark Bailey sends me pictures of shit, it's 9 out of 10 times it's like, fuck, that is sick. And the only time he has sent me shit where I'm like, Mark, I know you can do better, buddy, is when he sent me some Kiki combos, and I was just like, all right. But I think he was happy because he, like, you know, this was like over a year ago, but it was like 2 years ago. Like he was well ahead of the curve before people were showing it. But I remember him showing. Mind you, when I first looked at it, I was like, "Oh, that's unique." But then I was like, you know, compared to all the other shit that he's making, I was like, "I'm just that right there just wasn't it," you know.
Well, here's a question. Without really knowing what his combos were, I'm going to assume a lot of them were pastels, lessers, inchies, and other stuff like that.
There's no pastel in the mix whatsoever. Yeah,
kept it out. Okay, good man, good man.
It might have been maybe Enchi. I mean, it was super clean, but aren't Kiki's clean already? Like, aren't they a clean looking snake? Like, as far as reduced pattern?
I mean, reduced pattern wise, but they are kind of variable. I don't think they're all exactly spit-in images of each other. There's going to be little differences in the pattern. Here's the thing.
Look, we can tell Bill's been drinking the red wine tonight. Bill, we're saying Kiki, not kinky. He's saying kinky Mark. Bill, that's not what we're saying. God damn it, ladies and gentlemen, what a guy. People are like saying rumors. Mark is kinky. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Could be.
Could be.
I wouldn't throw in the towel on that project. You know, I'm sure there's a few things that have been made that were not very desirable, but there have been a few that I do like. You know, there's a lot of breeders that have clown, DG, and genetic stripe already together, and they're working on their triple recessives. I'd give it a couple more years. If you don't see something you like in a couple years, maybe shit on it. But I still think there's some potential on those two. I'm going to give those a shot still. I'm going to put it out there because I got double hats on Raise It Up too for that project. I'm late to the party, but I've seen a few that I've been happy with that I think there's a way to. I think there's a good mix for that. We just got to figure it out.
How happy do you feel about Sunset?
Honestly, dude, my favorite thing about Sunset is people hating Sunset. Like. I seriously, dude, like,
thank you.
Yeah, what a huge head start they're giving everybody with Sunset. Like, I think there's going to be enough really great there's already been a lot of really awesome animals. You know, the puzzle Sunset was fucking baller, and you know, somebody went and picked that animal up. I really liked what Justin made, the Sunset DG Hypo Spotnose. I think it was Heck Clown too. That was a couple.
One of my favorite sunsets. That was definitely one of my favorite sunsets.
It was hard to look at it glowed so much, man. Like that color, there's no other way to get those colors together. And then again, it's a recessive color that makes it desirable to new investors. So when people are rolling out good looking sunsets, and they're still rolling them out now, when new money comes in and they see that project, who the fuck doesn't like a red ball python? And I know it's not the reddest one you've ever seen. I know it's a little rusty, but there's going to be a way to get a consistent redder tone out of that in the right combo. And I think that DG Hypo was definitely the right way to take that one.
Number one most overhyped morph in 2024, I think, was Sunset. Hate to say it. I take that back. I don't hate to say it. I said it. Oh, well.
Well,
sorry.
Like,
fuck. It's being pushed way too aggressive and way too, like, there's not enough substance for you to be this excited right now. Give it another few years and then start making documentaries on it. You know what I'm saying? This is too soon.
I mean, it's first off, the Sunset itself has been around, I think, for what, like 20 years, because it took 8 years of not breeding it before Barchek got around to breeding and proving it out het.
Well, that whole story period is pretty weird and dicey, just so you know.
Well, it was a dicey story, but you know, the fine print in that when they were talking about the Viper ball python that I think he was partners with Ralph Davis on, and that was one that if anybody ever saw the Viper ball python, you would have never thought that wouldn't have been genetic. The amount of time they put into that, I think it was over 70 animals, I think, of time put in. When they didn't immediately get something first, you know, right out the gate with the Sunset, they quit. At least Brian did quit on it, but luckily he held a couple animals back. I don't know, man. I think the problem with the Sunset project that I said early on was we put the dumbest fucking codoms into it. Pastel, pinstripe, inchy, lesser. Like, we went with the like most generic things when there was better options in the hobby. So it's taken a little longer for that project to really kick off. And there has been some combos I'm not a big fan of, honestly. but we just can't get that color tone any other way, in my opinion, consistently.
Yeah.
And, people can sleep on Sunset. There's a lot of people working very hard on Sunset right now. You'll be spending a lot more money at it when you wait 2 more years to invest in it.
I just hope it is taking a long time, and then we start seeing shit, and it's like, okay, there you go. Which I have a good feeling. Like I already know at the end of the day, it's probably gonna be Miguel who's gonna like shut me up with Sunset officially, maybe. But for now, dude, like I have a good feeling that people who've been working Sunset as long as they have not. I've made a lot of Sunsets they're just not happy with, and they don't want to maybe show it off. Or maybe they're not showing the examples or something of everything. But at some point, there has to be more examples of Sunset out there if it's been working or if it's been worked this long in the hobby. You know what I'm saying?
You would think, but there was some hesitancy getting into it. Early investors in it. It was over a $50,000 animal if you're the first round buying, and only a couple guys got in at that level. And then after that, I know it came down to, I think, 35 at the next buying level. And then I know it came down from there. And it is where it is right now. I think it's an under $1,000 animal, but at this point of the game, like most people invested in it have already double or triple on hets, and some guys even have quad hets for that project. Like I said, things are moving a little faster. The price will get low on that, kind of like how the price on puzzles getting lower. But the fact that high-end puzzles are still going for a premium, I don't really care what the base gene goes for, because they're not chasing simple like 1 gene recessive projects. Everything at this point is triple recessive as your base, and soon that might be like below standard.
Yeah, it's very true. I don't know what I was gonna say next. Fuck, my mind just went left. Oh, I know, dude. What's up with you and Spotnose? Like, I mean, you're very bipolar with Spotnose. I heard you multiple times this year on episodes saying that you're just fucking not into it no more. And then I called you out. I called you out on it. You're like, no, I never said that. But I heard that you said something. And then Emilio also says he's not cool with Spotnose. What's going on? What's? I'm just trying to get your insight on that.
Well, I did go hard on saying I thought Spotnose and paint was dumb, and I did say I made a Spotnose tri-stripe that was very underwhelming. Might have some potential. I'm still using it to make a lot of hats, but let's just say this: I sold it to a pretty big breeder that has a good eye for things, and they pretty much gave it back to me. And they got it up to breeding size for me. They didn't see the potential in it. And like I said, it's going to be...
They said no thanks.
Well, like I said, they grew it up for me, but they just put that money towards another project I had, and we switched animals out kind of deal. And like I said, I'm going to try to get some generic stuff. I'm going to try for the leopard Spotnose tri-stripe this year just to see what it looks like. And I'm, like I said, I've been making hets with it for the last couple of years, but Spotnose, again, I love the Spotnose puzzle stuff. I really do like the Spotnose clown stuff. I was hyping on that a minute ago.
Can I show you one of my favorite Spotnoses of this year?
What's that?
Check this out.
Shit, man.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I see that. Is that a...
So that's a Fire Hurricane DG Dark Knight. 50% hypo.
That's pretty baller. Is that up in Canada?
No, this fool is. I think he's in Cali. I'm pretty sure he's
Cali
in Cali.
guy.
Yeah, he's coming on the show.
No, that's a strong animal, man. Like that's a really good looking snake.
I just don't. I can't imagine the world of ball pythons without Spotnose because of stuff like that. But like that Dark Knight and there's other combos that Spotnose is involved with, which is like I feel crucial. I mean, I'm probably because you can't, you obviously maybe don't want in everything, especially into each other, but I don't know. And maybe because I'm finally excited, I'm about to produce some Spotnose stuff. Actually, the Spotnose girl I got from you, I told you I got that Spotnose triple het from you. And she's about to ovulate here soon, so I'm all like looking forward to my Spotnose over here. I don't, especially if I want to share it with you. Like, look, Dave, I hit a visual Spotnose DG hypo clown. And then you're gonna
love that, man.
And you're gonna be like, fucking terrible. You Spotnose. Get the fuck out of here. That's all I'm worried about. I'm thinking I'm in my head right now, Dave.
Well, I guess you forgot about like 2 minutes ago when I was saying how crucial Spotnose was to making clown where it is right now. We would have the Pompeian. There's a lot of other ones in the Kraken project. I don't think we'd have. I think Spotnose is in the Kraken project, but no, I was just hyping it up pretty good. No, I say there's just certain projects you might want to keep it away from. And I was again paint. I don't like the Spotnose paint. I think it takes away too much of what the paint is. The pattern just overpowers all that cool speckling, so I'd probably keep it away. Not to say you can't put something else in there to draw more of that paint pattern back out, but I want to keep as much of that paint pattern there as possible, and I only want to add to it. So keep Spotnose out, unless you're smart about it. I'm sorry, Grant Tamiri. I know you love it. But I just can't.
How would you work sugar?
Well, Clown was kind of tough with it. I've only seen a couple puzzle combos. I did like the Tri-Stripe Calico. I thought was kind of unique because it did show a lot of calico in on the side. Paint Calicos I really like. I don't know about the Monsoon Calico. I don't know if I've just seen a plain Calico Monsoon yet. I think it had Mojave in it. It kind of faded everything a little bit, I thought. I like Calico, but I think it's definitely used like Special is like an enhancer gene.
Yeah, you mentioned Mojave, and we talked about Lesser, but these genes that really aren't sought after right now, like, let's be honest. I mean, they actually devalue a project from when I learned this year. Because I remember I got this really beautiful butter Wookiee clown from Mark Bailey. Like, this thing maybe has something else in it, I don't know, but this thing is gorgeous. I love it, And Mark sent me some stock that I was going to put at my table at the show, and it was a Wookiee clown. And he priced that Wookiee clown more than he priced that. And I thought the one I had looked fucking way hotter than the actual Wookiee clown, but he had the Wookiee clown priced more than the one I had. And I'm like, dude, what's up with that? He's like, it has butter in it. I'm like, what? Like, so if there's people out there who have high-end projects, but they have an incomplete dominant, such as Mojave, Lesser, Pastel, fucking G-Stripe, whatever. I'm not, G-Stripe's actually recessive. I apologize, but I was just trying to be funny right there. But like, if there is a unsought after incomplete dominant in your projects, I mean, first and foremost, should you be worried? All right. Or like, like, what would be the game plan with that? What do you have to say to that?
Well, I wouldn't be worried because I think the reality is we all have that problem. Again, me going back to where we were at with Sunsets, where it was Pastel, Pin, Inchy, and Lesser being put into it early on. So a lot of us that have Sunset Air Collection do have those genes in the mix. I don't overly stress on it, but I'm definitely not. Here's the thing, man. I love the Lesser Clown. When the Lesser Clown came out, or the Butter Clown, however you want to put it, I thought that thing was fucking unbelievable. Yeah. I love the pattern. I love the color. It was next level.
Even Killer Clowns. Remember Killer Clowns? Like, oh my God.
They were beautiful until they weren't beautiful anymore when we started making other stuff. They were only holding other projects back by having those genes in there. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
it was like a mirage. It was kind of like clouding things in a sense, right?
Well, we were all striving for orange, and Lesser was taking that true deep orange out of it. And the same thing with Pastel. It was ruining everything good and orange about the project. Yeah. So with orange being the motivation, of course, anything that's going to damper that, we're not going to want to put in. So that's why certain projects are being beat on the way they are. And they could still have a resurgence. I always say I like Pastel puzzle stuff. Even the Lesser puzzle, Mojave puzzle stuff, love that. I think there's a lot of ways to build on that. I think it tweaks it in a good way. But I do think in the puzzle project, a lot of people are going to get stuck on trying to make the same combos they did in Clown, and it's just not going to compute. So there's going to have to be some realization that, if Lesser's going to make it better in a lot of ways, well, how do we build on that, even though we've already thrown Lesser away about 5 years ago? Yeah. So like I said, shit's going to change. And, I bring it up. The joke with Red Stripe was everybody sold their Red Stripe, and then the Pompeii came out, and everybody went out and bought Red Stripe again. So who knows?
Well, one of my biggest highlights of my ball python breeding season this year is I finally made visual DG clown combos. One of them has, both of them have OD in it, which is great. But then they have two other genetics that are definitely like made fun of, and Pastel Fire, right? So they're basically Pastel Fire, Firefly, OD, DG clowns. But for me personally, I thought they're gorgeous. I thought they're beautiful. And when I show them off, people don't talk shit. I'll tell you that much, because I feel like there's levels to pastel lines and fire lines. Obviously, I think there are certain lines of fire and pastel that are like heavier than others. And I think you could agree on that. Okay. But then you could also agree, if you put the right things with pastel and fire, you're going to have a fucking gorgeous snake. And I know this firsthand. You know what I'm saying? But for me, with all the hate on pastel and fire and shit like that, I rather not be embarrassed by pricing this thing so low because of the pastel and fire. I'd rather just keep it because I know it's worth more. It's worth me keeping first and foremost, especially if I don't have visual DG clown stuff. I could use it for and it's gorgeous looking. So me, I think Miguel said this a long time ago. You buy cool shit, you breed cool shit, you sell cool shit. So at the end of the day, if it looks cool and it looks appealing, it's gonna sell. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If it looks that good, it's gonna sell.
Yeah. No, I think there's a market for anything if we don't scare people away from it. And I think the realization is when you hear about no more pastel all day, every day, you hear people talking shit about pastel all day, every day. Pastel makes DG so much nicer because it's just enhancing all those yellows. But again, if you don't want to be motivated to go yellow, I guess you can't put the pastel in there. I joked about pastel when DG hit when DG became popular because again, everybody was working with pastel DGs, have to throw in pastel away. And I didn't think we were going to be able to get rich orange colors out of our DG combos because everything was just so creamy. But Justin's proven it with the darker jeans, with black pastel, with what else has he done? Red stripe, all that stuff brings out really beautiful oranges in those projects. You throw yellow in there, it's going to fuck it all up again with pastel. But I wouldn't consider fire a throwaway, man, and I wouldn't necessarily consider orange dream a throwaway. But I do think that there's the question to be had, like some of these old school codoms that once were like the pivotal codoms. We got over 100 plus of those genes out there right now.
Yeah.
Banana, lesser, pastel, cinnamon over black pastel. And there's a couple other ones. Even orange stream could be on the chopping block soon. They could be completely replaced in their collections and other things might go in there if they find it works out better than what the old school traits did. But we hold on to them to this day because we all have them mixed in everything.
You think OD is gonna be on the chopping block? How? Like, because look at the high OD and stuff like that. I don't see that happening.
Well,
OD.
I still need the high OD thing defined to me because I still don't really understand what the high OD is about. I do understand some are nicer than others, and I get that, but I want a better understanding of what's doing that though.
It's a line thing. You just keep bringing it back into each other, and it's like a super form on top of each other. It just gets more intense.
So it is a little more line bred.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, if there's one gene that brings, I'm not hating on Orange Stream, by the way. I love Orange Stream. I'm just saying that we found ways to get dark oranges in certain projects. And, the Campfire is a good example. The Cinnamon Calico Inchy, which was a big one that Ben made, really unique, got really dark oranges on the side of the animal. I don't know if Orange Stream would have made that any better or made it exactly the same. I don't even think I've tried making that combo yet. But again, not to hate on Orange Stream, because I think it still has its place in the hobby. But I think there's other ways that people are pursuing orange in their projects, and it's not always Orange Stream now.
So if we were to talk into existence, like as far as in the future goes for you, Dave, like what projects will be something relevant for you ball python wise? Or like, do you even see yourself in the ball python game 2, 3, 4 years from now?
I'm always in the ball python game, man. I know too much about them to not be in the game. Honestly, I'm really leaning towards going with the more challenging ones. I put, a lot of, I did paint a lot the past year, but I still need to upgrade my paint to something better. I'm sitting here just making het paints, but I really need to be making hypo paint project stuff, I guess the way you put in, or DG paint stuff, because as soon as I make some cool paints in a couple of years, I'm going to probably be way behind, even if we've never seen them before. So I do have to step that up a little bit. I think Tri-Stripe, because I find that one challenging. I want to mess with that one a lot. And Puzzle, because I've been hyping on Puzzle for years. I have done some stuff I was happy with. The Spotnose puzzle early on. Ben Rennick made those sets. I got lucky enough to hit visuals. I still think that's one of the cooler puzzles made to date. I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm still going to be dabbling in clown, but I might be completely phased out of clown in a couple of years, which is probably a bad business decision because the clown market is a very good market to be in. But I'm going to fuck with some other stuff now because I think it's going to be more profitable just because, again, it needs to be done.
You're going to get rid of clown.
I think at some point I probably won't have any clowns left. I might keep a couple that I really love, but like I've always been such an asshole about the clown market, and every day I take a screenshot of a clown I like and I send it to people. I love the clowns, like really love the clowns. I want to work with these other projects and just see what they do. You know, maybe there'll be one that I got clown in the mix with. We'll see. Definitely won't be with the puzzle project. Not to be a hater, but it didn't work out. But you know, like I said, there might still be some clowns around, but really it's just incorporating some dinker projects I haven't fully proven out yet. I want to see the clown version of to make it again more marketable. And then at that point, I'll probably take those projects and move it into some of these harder recessives. But you know, you got to see everything in clown at least once.
Yeah, listen, dude. I feel so bad, you know, because you got people who legit were banking on this puzzle clown shit, you know, and they got one. What they think they got one. Maybe they do got one. Maybe they got genetically tested that it is one, but they have it on sale Morph Market for like $2,000, and it's not going nowhere. And it's like,
yeah,
it's just sad to see.
Something might make that to where you can see both the clown and the puzzle in the mix, but I was surprised how much the clown really just took everything away from the puzzle. Like there was just nothing left. Even clown's not really having any eye stripe. I guess there's no surprise that you would not see any eye stripe whatsoever when it came to the puzzle being in there because it's such a wide stripe already. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. That was a tough one because I do know people banked on it. I got personal friends that have put the time into that project. But, you know, I've always loved puzzle by itself. I don't think everything needs to be done in clown. I think puzzle by itself is just fine mixing everything you would do, like getting the other recessives in. I was kind of against it from the beginning. I'm not really happy that it worked out the way it is. Maybe a little bit satisfied. I don't know. I can't tell sometimes.
How much have you been paying attention to the Morph Scrambler?
Here's the thing. I've actually probably had Scrambler come up in conversation more in the last month than in the last however long it's been around.
Yeah.
I think there's a little confusion because I need to learn more about it. I don't know how much information's out there yet. I think we all saw those really bold orange animals with calico, I think, in that combo.
And OD.
And
it had OD.
And OD.
Which I feel like, you know, like, I get it. It looks orange. You made it orange, but I want to see what this Scrambler is really doing without less orange stuff. You know, does that make sense? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, no, and that's what I've said and some other people have said. But again, I don't know how far the hobby is along in that project. And again, I haven't been able to look at it enough, but I'm sure there's going to be more information out there soon. I think there's just a lack of because maybe there just hasn't been a lot done with it yet. But I could be wrong on that.
I'll tell you what, I've seen it in person and it draws me from across the room. Like it's
the single gene or the multi-gene combo?
No, not the single gene. I'm talking about the shit that's being displayed out there and fucking pulling people in left and right. It's you know, it's I don't know. I mean, some of it's being called Super Scrambler, but like Chris Hernan, hope I said his last name right. Really nice guy. And he, you know, I fucked nicest Scrambler examples combo wise I've seen were at his table, and I got a couple Patreon members that have his Scrambler snakes, and when they posted, I'm like, holy shit, that thing is fucking bright. Like it's intense. Yeah. It's an intense looking snake. But I think not everyone, but there is quite a bit of people who are wondering what it's actually doing without the other involvement, you know?
Yeah. I'd be curious if it falls in a category. I mean, I'd hate if it, I know it's not going to make a white snake or start in that rumor, but is it something a bell line complex? Like, is it a pattern mutation that also adds as a color? But, those animals for not having a recessive in there probably got more attention than anything this past year that, again, wasn't a recessive combo.
So, obviously, the whole ball python game is built off hype, and that's good. I think everything needs hype in this life. It's kind of like why we should be excited about certain things, right? And hype is good. But, like, how does somebody not get overhyped on something? Like, how does somebody kind of stay, like, I guess, keep their head in the realization zone versus fucking wandering off and, like, getting caught into the daydreamer drip? You know what I'm saying? Like how do you, like, make sure what it is you're investing, it is something that you are wanting to invest in, and it's not something that is caught into the hype train, Like, how do you avoid that, you think?
That sounds like an impossible ask. I just think of everything that I probably should not have invested in. I think about things that didn't work out the way I did or thought they would. You know, I never count my clutches before I have them. I never count my boas before I have them. And anytime I do that, I usually fuck myself. Not that I jinx it, but I get a false reality in my head of what it's going to be when it happens, and then it doesn't happen the way I think it should have. So, like I said, when it comes to investments, everyone's going to make a bad investment. If you ball pythons are a tricky one. You've noticed in ball pythons, people buy ball pythons because of colors, and then they buy other species because how much they like these other species. Every ball python collection has something else going on that they're hype about. William up in Canada makes some of the best ball pythons. He comes up all the time in conversation. I think he'd rather talk to me about monitors sometime. His monitor setups are fucking tight.
It's 100% factual. He'd rather talk about tree monitors than pythons. I know this firsthand for sure.
Yeah. But it's not like he doesn't care about the balls. Yeah, he still loves the balls, and he's still doing amazing stuff, and that he's going to continue for as long as he's willing. I think he's one of the top guys. We've had that conversation, but yeah, those monitors get him excited.
Yeah, he's always been my top guy out of Canada, and but it's cool to see like a new, like exciting, trying to learn side of Will. Like Will's like all about just geeking out over these tree monitors, where I always thought like, fuck, this guy's just goddamn just sitting on his ball python mountain chilling. But like, he's now a student in a new species. He's built his own enclosures, which I think is awesome. Like if you ever get to the point where you could do it yourself type enclosure build, that's fucking sick. I mean, I'm not that guy. I would have to hire someone, unfortunately, but because I don't want it.
No, it's go ahead. Oh no, and I was gonna say too, like thinking about collections, because I'm always thinking about mine. Like I think about like steady income. There's Honduran projects that have probably held the exact same value for 10 plus years, if not gone up in value over the last couple of years. And when you do the math around a species that stays very steady in the market, that is one of the rare times where you can maybe get an idea on what you'll make every year on that animal if it produces. Where again, if we're talking the morph game, in a lot of species, especially ball pythons, you can't bank on what that animal's going to sell for. We talk about with the DG clown, man, that was a market that cost a lot of money to get into, but everybody who put the money in when they did is reaping the benefits now. But I don't know how much DG clown male is going to be this year, man. Like I don't know if it's going to be a $500 or $800 snake. I don't know if it's already an $800 snake. Like, that market came down for, a reason. They were easy to make and a lot of people had them. But some things don't hold, but random species, man, that could be that one thing where every year if you get it to go, how much money you actually have coming in.
Yeah, I think we all know who fucking shocked the world with DG prices this year, and that was Fireball, 110%. Man, I was getting screenshots of his list, and goddamn, man, I was like, are these real prices? And I even inquired. I was like, just curious, like, is this legit? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. People are gonna be pissed.
Oh, well, yes and no, but yes. But the thing is they have a lot of animals, and they pretty much that project started in that collection. They never stopped breeding DG because people weren't buying it, and I think there's always been a steady amount of DGs going out. But
that is scary though, that somebody can have that much control over the market. You know what I'm saying? All the prices adjusted because they had to. They had no choice because of companies like Fireball, because of the prices that they're putting out.
Well, here's the thing though. I mean, who's buying just a DG male now? Like, why would somebody just buy a DG male? Why would somebody buy a pastel inchy DG male right now? Like, it's not.
It's their first snake, maybe.
Maybe it is their first snake, and here's the thing: we all get there the way we get there. I'm making past hets this year, and I'm going the nickel and dime way because I don't want to overinvest sometimes. So I get all that, but my point being is like, even a female DG that's going to take you a couple years to get up, yeah, you'll probably make a double head project, but the bar, like I keep on saying, keeps on getting set a little higher, and it's always been that way in the hobby. And you just got to decide where you're going to be. Some of those DGs might be pet animals, and those prices might spook you a little bit, but I think they have a pretty good understanding of what the market's doing, and I don't think they're lowering those prices because they have to. I think they're doing it because they want to, because they're not selling the way they should be. Fuck it. I said it the wrong way. They are doing it because they have to, because they understand the market.
Yeah. I mean, and you're right. Like, it's kind of like they, whoever was in charge of the whole pricing of that saw where things were headed, and I get it. Just like, like anything, it's things that that thing's going to last forever, especially pricing wise.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, the power of one, person in this, or one price list, have an effect on the whole spread of things was kind of shocking to see,
Again, I totally agree with you, but I just don't know many people that are trying to do simple DG combos. Everything is put into a pattern that's recessive, and a lot of people have gone the triple hat route with DG. So when you see a single DG combo on the market and it seems like a low price, I think there needs to be an acceptance there that that's probably not an investable animal anymore. Like, that's going to be something that, yeah, you'll be able to make some nice stuff with, but I just think those prices are exactly where they should be, to be straight with you. And I still hear about a lot of DG clown stuff. I've heard of DG clown hypo stuff going for very large amounts of money. And I know that they do produce nice animals in that category also. So I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I think they're doing what they have to do just based on the market.
Now, you got your hands in both pretty deeply with the boas and the ball pythons. How similar are the two as far as the market goes? Like for instance, with the boas, right? Can something just change overnight? Like, kind of like how things have happened with certain ball python projects? Like, is that happening in the boa game at all?
When we get a new morph, there's a surge, but unfortunately it doesn't happen very often. I think that, the Leucistic came out and there was a big surge investment wise on that. The Labyrinth was a big investment for people in the hobby. I'm sure there's a couple other ones I'm forgetting, but like in the last decade plus, like those were two of the bigger ones that really popped up in boa constrictors. I think boa money is good. And I do think that people come from other parts of the hobby to invest in boas. I do think that ball pythons get more new people coming in yearly than really anything else. Like, there's nothing comparable to the amount of new people willing to spend money on ball pythons.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
And I don't think that the boa market's a hard sell, but I do think kind of like the dwarf retic market compared to the retic market. There's a lot of people in ball pythons that are putting a lot of money into these dwarf retics. And it's a good thing. It's unique. I've always liked the animals. I've hated the size. Warren Booth sent me some really awesome pictures of some of the dwarf woes that he's working with over there, some of the mutations he has. I got Richard Del Bono. We're going to be talking boas hard tomorrow on my podcast.
Hard.
Yeah, always hard, buddy. I think maybe, some of these dwarf boa mutations that are going to go in CB70s could be one of the things that really makes boas take off, at least for those animals. And I know there's already people investing in those animals, but not everybody wants an 8-foot boa constrictor someday. And that's the toughest thing about the species.
Yeah. Man, think about that. Like, man, what about the Retics, bro? Holy shit. Like, who's buying a Retic right now?
Retic market has always been what it is. I'm really, it's not that I talk shit, but I do know that a lot of stuff that happens in that part of the hobby is a lot of bartering.
Yeah.
But I also know that some people do invest. I know that when Ben was alive, his the Rennick Ghost line, that was something that if he wasn't lying about the numbers, it was big numbers on a Retic project. But we're
in such a different time right now, man. It's unfortunate, but it's not good right now for Retics. It's not.
Here's the thing, yes and no. Again, there's a lot of really great projects. I think it's the Ocelot is one that I really like that's going around right now.
That's the last thing I remember before I kind of tapped out of the Retic world. Like, the one thing I was like, yeah, this is because I know Aubrey was showing a bunch of cool shit, and then Eric Lee was working with some nice Ocelot, and I was like, I was like the one genetic where I'm like, fuck, that looks sick. And mind you, I think Retics are beautiful. I think if they were a manageable snake, ball pythons would be fucked. Like, Retics would smoke ball pythons, I think personally, if they were anything like a ball python size wise, but they're not. And they're a real dangerous animal. They're super, super dangerous. And even at 7 feet, right? We're talking about if you have a true super dwarf, like 100% slocality, okay, they still stay at 7 feet, 6 feet, which males could be a little bit scrawnier, but there's a story of that chick getting murked by a 7-foot super dwarf Retic. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, dude, it's just man, I love those animals, man. But I also love tigers, and I like elephants, and I like other crazy shit too. But I look at Retics in that category. Like it's just not it shouldn't be a pet. I don't think it should be a pet. Sucks
It's
to
a
say.
tough one.
It is tough. It sucks, but I just be like there's not enough responsible people out there to have that snake.
Probably not. But again, I do think that the dwarf retics, if we were talking pedigrees like with Nick Mutton the other day, kind of talking about, just AKC, CKC registry kind of ideas behind reptiles, maybe.
Yeah.
If there was something where you actually had some legit paperwork coming with your dwarf retics that says how much of that blood is actually pure dwarf, what's mainland, kind of gives you a general idea. But, as soon as you get that mainland in the dwarf, you're going to get a bigger snake. And that's even in the boa constrictors. As soon as you do the dwarf stuff with the big stuff, it's going to be a big animal. But, if there's a way that we can dial down some of these mutations, also the willpower not to get your stuff big. I've had William over here the other day, and we were looking at some boas, and I was showing off a 4 or 5 pound boa constrictor that gave me like 16 or 18 slugs. I waited 5 to 7 years to breed that female. I bred her small, and the only reason I even bred her that season was she started developing. And I got the male in late, and I got a slug out. But again, it would have been a big litter, and this girl was a very small female. So I'm sure with reticulated pythons, if you don't drive a lot of size on them and just put age on, you could have probably females in the 7-foot range that'll breed for you, no problem. But, a lot of us, are impatient. I mean, that's the toughest thing. And that's one nice thing about having a big collection is you're never really that impatient because there's always something new coming up. But if I just had a couple boas around, I was talking about waiting 7 years to breed them, that sounds awful.
Also, I think, everything I speak from is from my experience. When I think I was in a little bit way in over my head. I mean, not even, no, what am I talking about? The last time I had, as far as breeding stuff goes, I just had one female and I would always have one male. And I would just have the babies. But I just think if you stay in a good zone, you could have, all I'm saying is I look at keeping animals where I don't want anything that could potentially put me in the hospital. I don't have time for that. I really don't.
I find retics hard to sell. I've had them on my table. I've tried to help friends, but like I've said, I've always tried talking people out of retics, and I'm not trying to be a hater, but
me neither.
You go to enough shows and the people that come up to your table, right away whether or not they should have an animal like that. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, we talk about the amount of eggs these things can produce. Even a super dwarf, they can give you so many fucking babies. Okay. And I don't care how hot of an item you have. If you have 20 of anything, sometimes it's going to be hard to sell that shit. Like, it's not going to. And so even if that's even the case, imagine if you have 20 of something that is not even wanted right now. Good luck. You're going to do some. You're going to be doing some desperate shit to get that shit out of your collection, because guess what? Those things eat, and they eat a lot, and they eat quick. You know what I'm saying? They grow quick. I've raised, a couple clutches of 20 plus babies, and they run out of space quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's a stressful thing when space matters to you, especially when you have some of these retics that like to push, and they're not happy to be in a little fucking tub. You know what I'm saying? And then they show you. That's one thing I do respect about a retic is they'll let you know if they're not happy with their cage setup or whatever. They'll fuck themselves up pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, kind of going back to what I said before about, Chad having a very manageable size collection he's very happy with.
Yeah.
He could probably go out and buy a bunch of green tree pythons tomorrow. I mean, you've seen his pictures. He's taking probably more pictures of that than ball pythons sometimes. Yeah. But, there's a responsibility there. He knows what he can handle, and he keeps it within those means. So, you're talking about maybe getting overwhelmed with retics. Well, don't get overwhelmed with retics. Get some retics, but don't buy so many that you're not going to know what to do with the babies.
Yeah, it's a lot. But here's the thing: the babies are so cute, and when you don't really understand that these little babies get fucking to giants, or could potentially get to giants, it's sometimes a little too late. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like you. I'm not trying to tell people to be anti-retic, but definitely consider. I feel like if you're gonna do it, that's a lifetime animal, dude. Like, don't. That should be yours forever. I feel like, and I don't want to be hypocritical because I got rid of 20 plus or 13 something adults fucking 4 years ago, but but I learned. I wasn't happy. People who follow me knew I was legit sad about getting rid of those animals. I didn't want to get rid of those animals, but I also didn't want to keep them here and be a fucking mini Jay Brewer of San Diego and have fucking things missing and have their face gone and shit like that. There's no way in hell. And I got to tell you, that guy is the reason why I got rid of my Retics, because I saw the shit that was going on in his place, to be honest, if you want to be 100% honest with you. So a big Retic guy is the reason why I got out of Retics, 110%, which was probably a good thing, I think. I think that was a blessing in disguise. I really do.
Yeah. You knew when to walk away from something, man. It wasn't right for you, and you didn't waste too much time on it.
Yeah. So listen, I want to change gears because, I want to say thank you first and foremost, Dave. I love your commitment to your show that you do bi-weekly Fridays. I want to say almost every Friday. You're fucking with Junior every Friday now. I think Junior's been doing a great job. Junior, here's the thing about Junior. He's made for this shit. Like, the guy could talk. And the thing is, when he talks, it grasps your attention. Like, you're zoned in, like when you talk, right? But I got to say, the most impactful episode so far that Junior has had is when you're in the mix. Because you guys together, it's quite the combination. Especially, who was a guy who didn't show up and it was just you two talking? That was probably one of the biggest episodes you guys had.
Yeah, I wasn't. Honestly, the second time that same guy didn't show up and we couldn't really keep a rhythm going, I was a little sad. We could have probably had a second episode just like the first one.
Yeah.
But we were just like, oh, we got to find somebody. And I was on my phone and it really threw the rhythm off. If we would have just rolled with it, we would have done just fine. But no, Junior is why I'm as knowledgeable as I am, because a lot of what I know is stuff that Junior taught me.
Nice.
A lot of things in the hobby, being around him, I learned a lot about quarantine. I learned a lot about disinfecting tubs. I learned a lot of things that I never put a lot of attention into. And even a lot of different sides. I give Junior a lot of credit for what I know. But I'll be honest with you. We'll talk about it a little bit. But that small period when I was out on my own, thinking I was going to do my own thing, like Junior was the only guy I wanted on my team, other than William Philippek. And then I also had my buddy Ryan I was talking to about maybe coming in, and nobody even knows my buddy Ryan. But, now that I got this little Friday spot, I'm bringing William on every week. I'm bringing Junior on. I love jumping on his weeks when he lets me.
Yeah.
These are the guys I always wanted to work with, man, because I've had a lot of really good conversations with both them.
And, conversations, I feel like kind of what sets the tone for your, like you getting rooted into this, right? Because you think about the conversations that we've had, Tinley lobbies and just like other areas where you're just shooting the shit. And I feel like that's exactly what you guys are doing on these podcasts. Is like you are talking about some shit that you would talk about if we were smoking outside, at a show or something, right?
Yeah.
But I think other people hearing these conversations is kind of what makes everything kind of come together full circle. Because one thing I am very proud of, Dave, is like, I'll never forget. And I told you this. Okay. You want a little story time. And I haven't told this story in a long time. But remember when I was like, man, I was just dying to get to know you. And this was definitely after, was Forrest around when we first met, or did he pass?
Oh, of course.
Away? He was around.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he was around.
I'm talking about when we met in person. Was he still alive?
Yep. I believe so. Because I was out in a California show with him a couple times.
Yeah, but this was after. I think this was after, dude. I'm pretty sure, because I wasn't traveling when Forrest was alive. And when Forrest passed away, that's when the podcasting started picking up and I started traveling to go do my podcasting. So I think this was after. I think you and I met face to face after Forrest passed away.
Maybe there's truth there. He did give me a description of who you were before we did that first podcast together.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might be right. But it feels like we're always in the same place at the same time, but maybe not in the same room at least one show, man.
But it was a big deal to me. This is why I remember this. Like, because I remember I was like, dude, I need to become, because I also knew that, like, back then too, like, you're very, like, people, like, everyone, a lot of people know you a lot more because you're out here on podcasts and whatnot. But like back then, you were more of a mystery to the newer keepers. Like, a lot of newer keepers didn't really know Dave unless you knew Dave. And I just felt like I wanted to get to know you, like how, like, Forrest knew you and how the homies knew you, right? So anyways, pretty sure this was Arlington. Because Warren Booth was there. And this was like the last time I saw Warren Booth at a show was this Arlington where we're all at the bar. He's hammered. I'm hammered too, right? And I'll never forget. I knew you smoked. we had already kind of introduced ourselves. You're sitting down. I'm like, I got to show Dave this weed, man. I was like, I got this fucking bomb ass weed. I was like, and I had everything in a jar. It was like a little bit of more than the eighth. But I take it out and I'm like, hey, Dave. And Dave's just like this on the restaurant table, just chilling. He's like, what's up? I'm like, and I slide it over. Remember, I slide the jar over and you get it. And you're like, oh, what's this? I'm like, check it out. And you open it, you smell it. You're like, oh yeah. I'm like, dude, bomb, huh? You're like, thanks, buddy. And you tie it in, you put it in your pocket. And I'm like, I told myself, fuck it. Like that. I was like, that's your tax, man. I was like, if you let this guy have this, tell me right now, bro. Like he's gonna remember. And sure enough, dude. Oh man, I was like, I don't. But then, dude, I felt like we became friends after that. Not that I had to pay you weed or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like, I felt finally like, okay, this is like my welcoming, like friendship gift, I guess, at this point, because you just put it in your pocket. I'm not gonna ask for it back. So I was like,
you paid the troll tax, buddy.
Yeah, Matt Summers was there. Thank you, Matt Summers. He was right there. But dude, we ended up chopping it up. Like we had our first like homie to homie conversation that day, and it really. So anyways, to speed things up to now, and like I always took that like, you know, me being friends with you was something special to me because it was special to Forrest, and so it was special to me, and to kind of have you be a part of what I've started in a sense with Forrest, even though me and Forrest was unfiltered. I mean, I only had the balls to do a podcast because of Forrest. If it wasn't for Forrest, I would have never had the balls to fucking be talking about reptiles because I was so green and wet behind the ears. You know what I mean? I still am. But to have you do what you're doing now, bro, it's just it means a lot to me. So I just want to say, for the record, publicly, thank you so much for throwing shows under the Trap Talk Reptile Network. I don't take it lightly, and I'm very proud of it. I just want to tell you that.
No, I appreciate that, man. And honestly, to go back and everything you just said, so first off, you know, before you did that, you know, other people had slid drugs across the table to me, and I've always just thrown in my pocket because I just thought that's what that meant. Not to say that you weren't special in any way, but it just became a habit for me to be getting so many gifts from people that, you know, it just, you know, it meant. But, you know, there was that time in my room, you know, there was something. Yeah, so, you know, yeah. You fucked my toilet all up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. I had a really bad GERD back then, like regurgitation fucking issues, really bad.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dude, partying did a number on me, man. Like when I partied my ass off before the reptile hobby, and I still partied. I would, because you knew me a little bit. I still fucked around and I would get fucked up, but all that partying just caught up to me, bro. Like I just couldn't function. Like I couldn't do stuff without either having the worst case of heartburn afterwards or yakking in a toilet. It was bad.
Yeah, which I appreciate that, by the way. I wish I would have taken a picture. It was a good yak. It was a whole bottle of red wine. But no, I love that, man. It was solid.
I could have sworn I got it all when I flushed it. I could have sworn.
Yeah, well, you didn't flip the seat up. That's what you missed, buddy. Like, but yeah, dude, that and you know, on the other note, man, same thing with me with Forrest. Like Forrest was talking about this podcast thing, and I had never even listened to a Joe Rogan podcast. I didn't even really know what the fuck podcasting was, other than knowing what it was. So like, you know, him encouraging me to come on and do that, like, you know, thank God he did, because if he didn't have me come on, I may have never done one of these things ever.
Yeah,
so same boat.
You were the first person too. Like you weren't the first guest, but when we started it, he told me we have to, like, Dave Levinson is the guy we need to have on this show. Like he told me how important it was for you to be on the show. And what's crazy is like, it ended up being his last podcast. That's fucking crazy. Yeah. That's what, that's why it's kind of like, you know, it makes me, I don't want to get like in my feelings, but I'm just saying that I look at things and how, you know, we talk about things that come in full circle and how things align. Like I mean, if you go back and watch, if you guys, I challenge anyone out there, go to Unfiltered Reptiles Podcast YouTube channel, type in Dave Levinson, watch that episode. I'm cheesing the whole episode because I'm like, we finally got this guy on the show, and it was the funniest episode ever because it's the first time anyone was in their car in a parking lot, okay, with the big ass fucking, what did you have on that fucking...
I think it was a megalodon tooth. I probably had some American flag stuff on. Might have had a tank top. I don't know.
But this is like when I first saw like no blink Dave. Like I thought this was a joke. Like I couldn't believe like who I was I don't know, Dave. You're quite the guy. I'm used to you now. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? I love you. But, dude, I could not stop laughing that whole fucking episode, bro. I could not keep it together. It was probably one of my funniest and funnest episodes to date is that episode for sure. I'll never forget.
No, I love that podcast. I talk about it. People too, like when Ben passed away, there's a lot of people that like I still talk to, but I didn't cut people out. I just kind of like made my group of people around me a lot smaller. But Forrest was always in that group.
Yeah.
We always had amazing conversations, and that podcast, like we talked about it after. I loved disagreeing with Forrest. I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, and the debate with him was always my favorite part. That podcast was a lot of us, like, I'm sure from the outside looking in, it seemed like we were kind of being hard on each other.
Yeah.
But, a lot of our conversations were like that because we were just really passionate about what we were saying. I did not text him afterwards. I was going to be like, hey, man, love you, whatever. Like, it's like I almost wrote the text message out and, like, didn't send it some reason. But, no, Forrest, I love Forrest. I always enjoyed hanging out with him. I enjoyed my history with him. I enjoyed that, like, when I was like getting into the scene in the North Carolina scene, that's when I met him back in the day with mutual friends. Like, just was a real fun guy to know.
How would you guys? How do you guys gonna act when you're like this? Is the first time you see Davis like this. You had the American flag. Hold on, you can actually see the shark tooth. Hold on, let me speed this up real quick. I think you start flossing it right here. Oh yeah, there it is. You see it?
Yeah.
Oh, look, you can see. Look at that. Oh, look at that clear shot, bro. Dude, that was a 4-hour episode too. 4 fucking hours. We used to, dude.
Yeah.
Our average show back then was 3-4 hours. When Forrest was alive, bro, every show was at least 3 hours. Man.
Yeah. I like long format, man. You being the voice in the background on the Nick Mutton episode the other week made it a lot better. And honestly, I'm glad it carried on for another hour and a half.
You had look, look, there it is. Look, you see the picture? I put it for you.
Yeah. Please. Thank you. You didn't even like it when I sent it to you. I thought it meant nothing to you.
No, I was like, all right, I did that.
Yeah, no, just whenever you pop in, man, I just want to see that over me. But no, like I said, this podcasting thing is very unique. I love dressing up. It's kind of always been my thing ever since high school. It's just I feel more comfortable the weirder I am, I guess is the way of putting it.
Yeah.
But also, coming on and doing this with you, man, do I get discouraged when I think I'm putting out a bad product. When I hear about the audio being bad, all that kind of stuff, like what a comfort it is now knowing that I got things in order where I don't have to second guess everything I'm saying. I don't have to worry if people can hear me. I felt like I was putting out a real rough product for a couple months there.
But I feel like you have to do that. Like, dude, I did that. Oh my God. If you go back to watch some of my first year doing podcasts, oh my God. Like I had a mic and the mic wasn't even connected. I was talking out of my computer mic and all sorts of weird shit. But it's almost like like getting jumped into something, bro. Like you gotta have to go through a little bit of like, oh my God, this is terrible. Am I even doing this right? And you stick it out. And mind you, no matter how bad audio stuff was, I think there was only one time, I think with Nick Mutton, where you just couldn't do it. But other than that, you stuck it all out. You stuck it all out and you made it happen. But dude, now I'm telling you, you're talking about like, bro, I'm loving this because now I can fucking, there's no clicking. There's no like fucking, we're in a good place now. I love it.
I'm happy. Gives me more confidence in this, but no, man, like I said, just finding a way to put out a good product in this, like I said, I always enjoy the conversation. I hate saying the same thing twice. I feel like I always say the same thing twice. I'm going to broaden my horizons and try to find new things to learn. I stopped having conversations with people a long time ago too. I used to call like guys like Don Patterson, Chad Halker, numerous other guys in the industry and just had like 3-hour-long conversations about animals. And I was always getting like fresh things in my head. I don't feel like I'm getting as much fresh content in my head anymore because I'm not talking to as many people as I used to. Like, I think when I'm not doing this, I got to start making those phone calls again.
I mean, it's kind of what makes you like Dave is all those conversations you've had with people from the get-go. But yeah, I do think that's important. See, for me, I have like the way the conversations I learn from are on this show for me personally. So I feel like, because mind you, I handpick the people I want on the show, and it's always people I want to learn from. Like it's people I feel like I need to gain some information from them. And this is why I do value anytime I do have a show with you, because for me, talking to you now is like talking to you over the phone. We don't, maybe a little bit cleaner how we're talking here, but I'm just saying, like, I value a lot of the things that you have to say on episodes, because I came into this game a lot later than you. So what I do here with you, you definitely need to keep doing on your end as well, is what I'm saying.
I hear that, and I appreciate that. Yeah, man, like you said, it's an interesting space to be in. I love it. I love the little side gig I had before this gig. Really kind of like gave me the momentum to do this, I guess the way you put it. It was like, it was the training wheels, having those episodes with Herb House Rock. Driving into this, I came into this cocky. You remember we make jokes about that first episode. Yeah. Told you how all that I was, and then I didn't talk the whole time because I tried to smoke beforehand. I tried to get on your level. I didn't have shit to give.
I never recommended that either. I didn't say, hey, Dave, you should smoke before the show. No. I would have told you not to. Oh, my God.
I would have told me not to. Well, I told you what really went wrong. I talked to Junior on the phone for like 3.5 hours that day before the podcast. When we got on the podcast, I had nothing to say to him anymore. It was all over. Like, I got it all on the phone. So
guys,
I learned. Yeah.
To give you guys context out there of what we're talking about, I'm talking... Well, maybe an hour before the show, or something. There's sound check going on, and we're talking, and then Dave stops me. He goes, "Hey, MJ, just want you to know something." I'm like, "What's up?" I'm really good at this. Like, I just want to let you know that I'm really good at this. And I was like, yeah. I think you're good at. I think you're gonna do great. Sure enough, we go live. This guy's stone faced. Just, I'm like, Dave, and he's just like. Feels real good to be here.
Yeah. No, it was the best, worst thing ever, but I think it really it got the ball rolling, man. Because I don't know what the next episode was, but I know after that, I don't think there was a bad one ever.
No, you definitely turned the gears on after that. Actually, that episode, you kind of snapped. I think the last 10 minutes, you wanted to go longer. We went 2 hours, and you're like, "No, I'm starting to like snap out of it." And I'm like, "No, dude, I don't fucking, like." Yeah. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Hey, don't do drugs. Yeah.
Listen, before we change the topic on podcasting and whatnot, what are some of the biggest goals for you as far as guest wise? Like, what are some of the things you can kind of give the people that you're looking to hopefully organize and kind of get together? Like, give us a little something,
Well, I've been thinking about this hit list a lot. I got my unobtainables like Tracy Barker, Ralph Davis, who, maybe I'll close someday. I think we're all trying. And, in a couple of weeks, I have Rich Eiley, salmonboa.com. I mentioned that, it's supposed to happen a little sooner. We finally got it in order. Nice. But, that was something that Warren Booth put together for me. And the cool thing about that is that was one of my first investment boas when I was poor. I sent him like $1,500 for a salmon hypo. And again, I was making like $250, $300 a week at that point in my life. So like really big tie to that guy in that aspect of things. And I've really focused on his career when he was in the hobby. So for me, that's one of those me episodes, but Warren made that happen for us. So hopefully Warren's got a couple other people he's willing to talk to on my behalf, and hopefully bring some podcasts up I haven't yet. Other than that, man, I kind of want to keep on skipping around on species. I've been wanting to do pine snakes for a little while. I've been talking about doing a garter episode for a long time. I don't know. I think I'm just going to keep jumping around species and try just to jump back into balls like once every like few months. If that makes sense.
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like you are definitely, your head's in the right place where, the species that are definitely just kept under the rug need to be talked about. But like for something to pick up steam like that, you have to just hone in on that species for a while. Like you have to just keep talking about it. Otherwise, if you do that and then you go switch to another species that's really not that popular or talked about, you lose that audience, I feel like. And this is why I always keep ball pythons a part of my realm each week, because I have to. Otherwise, I won't have a crowd.
I understand that, and I won't disagree, but I also, the Nick Mutton episode did over 1,000 views, and I think that's the first time I've hit over 1,000. It took a little longer than I thought.
Oh, you're talking about your podcast, right? Because you've definitely been, you've been on shows with me that we've surpassed like 2,000.
For sure, but I'm not going to sell my soul to ball pythons. And the thing is about like all these conversations I have with all these different things or species is the coming ups of how that guy got to where he was. Cause I'm not picking random people. Like I'm picking people that are at the top of their game in that species, at least in my view from what I've seen over the years. So I think on any episode I put out, there's going to be part of the business aspect of what that was like to build. And again, we all know that ball python people like to find other things to put their money into, other passions they didn't realize they had. So I don't really know what my following is going to be. I just can't commit to one species. I mean, I'll talk about at least, you told me to stop talking about ball pythons with Nick Mutton. Like on multiple times you told me to stop, but I kept bringing it back up,
Listen, it was, maybe I was out of order, but
no,
I'm in here ready to fucking hear Nick go on. I'm in here cleaning, listening, and I just couldn't believe like the closing. We're like, I don't know where we were, but we were pretty thick into the podcast, and you guys kept talking about ball pythons, and I was like, this is wild, like not what I was expecting. But mind you, I think ball python people didn't even realize what they missed. That was a fucking good talk, dude. That conversation on ball pythons was really, really, really good. It really was. Yeah. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. That's all.
Well, I love different people's point of views, and Nick has a very strong point of view. We talked about that in the podcast, and he's a guy that was in ball pythons before ball pythons were really mainstream. He was in the early days of selling, like he said, pastels for $3,000. So he saw what happened over the years. He paid a lot of attention to that, like I did. So the only thing is like maybe we had a different viewpoint on what that really meant or what we were seeing, but like I love those conversations with him because he knew what the fuck he was talking about.
Yeah, you guys please go check this episode out. I really recommend it. I mean, I don't think enough people saw this episode. It's really good, and it's you would think that you guys do talk about a lot of stuff, but man, the ball python topic was something you don't hear on a lot of Trap Talk episodes. Like I thought it was really good.
Yeah, no, and again, we didn't really have a plan of what we wanted to talk to going in. We had a couple species that we were going to talk about, but again, that was a 3.5 hour podcast just because, again, Nick gives very good answers, very good replies. Like, I love that conversation. Nick has been on my bucket list for 5 years when it came to podcasting. So, like, I was happy to get that one down. And honestly, I love that it went 3.5 hours. And it probably could have went 4.5 hours if I didn't have to play hockey that night.
Listen, I'm not here for the rumors. Okay. Yeah, I am. I heard Nick Mutton might be a free agent right now and could be potentially looking to jump on a podcast as a host. I don't know. Maybe reach out to him.
I think he should. I think when I first asked him to do one, I think he was kind of wondering if I meant more than one. I think Nick would be a great guy to cycle in. I think Nick can do it every day if he wanted Nick to do it every day.
Epic.
I like I said, I like Nick. It was a great conversation. I never listened to a podcast with him before. I more knew him about his work. I've always, I know a lot of breeders' names because of the animals. I might not know anything else, like literally nothing else. But I can call animals out for the breeders a lot of times. But no, like I said, I've always liked Nick's stuff. And man, what a conversation that was with Nick. Really enjoyed that.
I didn't know he was that strong. He could rep 315. I was really impressed. I was like, holy shit, bro. That's
I thought that was tight, man. I enjoyed that. I was going to reach out to him about maybe something soon. I thought maybe getting him on a podcast with Elijah and Matt Minatola, kind of get that blood python talk and the short tail talk. I thought that could be a good dynamic. I think there'll be more with him sooner than later. Honestly, I'll probably plan something for January just for fun. I might do what I just said with the blood pythons.
I think you should definitely bring Elijah Armis back. I think you guys had a really good flow that podcast. And he's somebody, here's the thing, Elijah he'll tell people no all day, but he'll come on here. You know what I'm saying? If you could get Elijah on here, which he doesn't do, like he doesn't like to go on shows, but if he fucks with you, bro, and he fucks with whatever you're trying to organize, dude, please bring that guy back on. I really encourage it. Elijah's awesome.
No, I had a lot of fun with him. A lot of similar interests. I kind of said that I think we're both a little morph motivated. I love all the morphs and blood pythons, less about some of the lineage projects. And honestly, his hybrid stuff, I think he's doing that, Argentine to, was it a yellow? I think it's a yellow anaconda. Might have been a green. I think it was a yellow. I could be confusing this, but he's been trying for that for years. I know it's Nick Muffins listening to this. He may never come on this podcast for me for saying it, but I want to see what it looks like. That's it. I'm sorry.
Well, way to fuck it up, Dave. Jesus.
Yeah, just like that. You can edit this out. He won't know.
It's live, dude. Ain't no editing.
No one should tell him. How about that?
Yeah, fuck it. All right, listen, let's get to a big wrap-up topic that I feel like is the big meat and potatoes also with what I wanted to bring up with you, because one of the biggest stirs in the hobby was Morph Market shipping rolling out, you know, and it fucking ruffled a lot of feathers out there. Are you, I don't know, Dave, you sell a lot. Like what's your position? What do you think? What do you overall think about Morph Market shipping, the rates being a lot lower than the competitors? Like what goes on through your head when you think about it?
So Darian has made a lot of calls in the hobby. He made some to me just asking, what would it take? And, I told him I'd give it a shot, and we did ship out, I think, X amount of packages last week. The reality is if it sales through Morph Market, it's so convenient. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
As soon as you close out the animal, you hit one button, you go down, you put the box size in there, the weight, done. Tracking gets sent to the customer for you. It's there waiting for you in your account. It is so fucking convenient, man. I know there's gonna be some loyalties. Reptiles Express, I've used them. The mics, I like them both. And I'm still using them. But I did send a couple that way just to see what it was like. And honestly, it's fucking easy, man. Like, it's really, really fucking easy.
But with the time like this that we're in, right? Like where, obviously sales aren't is the same for everybody. What I mean by that, guys, some people aren't doing as good in sales as others. I feel like what I've seen a lot happening lately is like that dollar amount slightly being different than something else and you not getting the sale, right? And I feel like in a time like now, if you're able to save a customer money, how's that not to your advantage? You know what I'm saying?
No. Well, here's the thing. I don't want to be too nice because I'm not sponsored by Morph Market. But
neither am I.
Yeah. No, but like I said, we're all going to kind of do what we're going to do in this hobby. Luckily, there's a lot of different shipping companies, and we've always kind of gone here and there. Like I said, I'm not trying to oversell it, but the functionality of it on the website is just so fucking convenient that, again, it's going to save a lot of time for a lot of people. They're going to save money. And we did have some delays with our packages. Indianapolis was a real motherfucker this past week.
Yeah.
When I woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning, I already had an email from Morph Market letting me know what tracking numbers were delayed and where they were. Wow. So if I wanted to look into it further, I could. So the reality is, if the customer service is there and they have a competitive rate and it's really easy to use to the website, people are going to switch over. But I also do believe there's going to be loyalty in the hobby, because why wouldn't there be?
But, I understand the loyalty part, and we're not here to drop names or anything, but there are just certain practices from certain companies that I feel like it's pretty petty. Like, I just don't like some of the false narratives being painted about Morph Market shipping, and just something that just isn't really coming from an actual Morph Market like person, and that's why I'm really excited to be a part of what I'm doing with Morph Market starting tomorrow morning, because I get to be the person to say it how it is happening for Morph Market and what the actual rates are going to be and what changes are going to come, and finally I get to be the source of information versus a lot of the shit that I've seen. Man, I've seen screenshots of some petty accusations and like some fucked up shit, Dave, like some really dirty, like fucked up lies coming from some owners of these shipping companies that I don't know, man. If anything, this is what's getting me so fired up to do what I'm about to do for Morph Market, because I can't stand business like that. I'm not okay with it. And it's the same shit as a vendor bashing that other vendor right next to him, which we all heard stories of people doing that, right? That's like a known practice from back in the day, like vendors bashing other vendors to save a sale or whatever, right? But in this case, we're talking like a whole business here, which same case as a vendor, but I don't know. It puts a bad taste in my mouth, man. It really does, because you got a lot of people that can't think for themselves, and they hear what they hear and they run with it. That's it. They don't want to get an explanation. They don't want to look for the truth. They just heard what they heard, and that's it.
Well, First off, most of the stuff that you're talking about, 20 people know about. And without going into details, the reality is it's what's going wrong with a few people in the hobby. So without advertising on here, nobody really knows about this kind of stuff. That's like so behind the scenes in such a small part of the community, it's not even funny. But again, when it comes to customer service is what people are going to lean on here. When he asked me about it originally, I did say, if your customer service sucks, people will go somewhere else. If the customer service is good, it's the same functionality as any other website. You're just picking the one you want to work with. So I don't know, man. I think I don't do drama. You know that. I don't really give a fuck about any of that. It's functional. It's functional. It's a lot easier than other ones you're going to use. That's all there is to it. You don't want to put your money in Darian's pocket or with Morph Market, don't do it. If you want to put it somewhere else, go somewhere else. But if you use it, you'll find it's easy. But again, I still have my loyalties in other places. I'm still putting money in Reptiles Express's pocket. Functionality was a lot easier on Morph Market because it's all tied together and it was meant to be easy.
I'm glad you tried it. I didn't even know you tried it.
Yeah, I gave it a try. And like I said, my packages all got there just like they would any other day. And like I said, anything that could have happened, and I knew about it immediately.
So to kind of put yourself in the smaller breeder sites, like we're talking about like the boutique hobbyists, right? The ones that are maybe having their first year having productions available, right? Period. No matter what type of business it is, isn't savings important, Dave? Do you think?
Well, and that's another thing. Like when you're talking about like where loyalty stands, there's a few big people in the hobby. We're hearing where their loyalty is, but like, what about the other 5,000 breeders in the United States? Like the people that aren't in the cliques and aren't doing this. Like, the reality is that space is so big in this hobby. People are going to probably go where the price is the cheapest because that's in anything in life. And the people that aren't involved in these conversations or don't know what's going on behind the scenes don't know and don't care. So, like I said, it's a big hobby with a lot of people. I'm sure everybody's getting a piece. I'm sure Morph Market's going to get a bigger piece as what time goes on.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's big, but it's not. It's big.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the world's a big world, but it's also a small world. I don't know.
A lot of people in the know, a lot of people not in the know, I guess is the way of putting it. We know things, but we have a lot of friends.
How do you feel about next year, man? Do you think any big changes are about to happen?
Well, I'm sure big changes are going to happen. I don't know what those changes are, but I don't know, man. It's such a cliche to say, but it's always changing. I think it's going to be a good year personally. I think there's a lot of positivity in the hobby, and I think where the negativity is, it's just unrealistic goals in the hobby, I guess. I know a lot of...
I'm sorry, continue.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that, I know people in the hobby that have been doing this for 20 years, and these last 2 years are the best years their business has ever had in those 20 years. A lot of people could say the complete opposite, that have only been doing it for 5 or 10 years. But, these flows happen, and a lot of times it's just management of your business.
And I don't know, Dave, I feel like this is something that a lot of people should maybe look at if it comes down to it. But like, I don't know, has there ever been a year where you felt like it was maybe smarter not to breed versus to breed? Like, and do you feel like people should really sit back and look at that? Like, do you think some people should maybe consider taking a year off?
What if you went into COVID thinking that COVID was going to slow sales down in the hobby, and because of that you slowed down your breeding that year, and then would have found out that people wanted your animals? You can't really predict the market. You know what you're capable of, and I understand if time is a restriction, don't make things you can't take care of. But if you have the time, I would hate not to have it if I needed it.
What's your advice for what's your biggest piece of advice for anyone out there who has a bunch of 2023 production, even 2024 stuff that they can't move? Like they just can't move it. They can't sell their snake. What do you have to say to that?
Well, if you're a good salesman, you would know it's probably market related. Maybe your prices are too high. Maybe everybody's prices are too high in that area at the moment. If nobody's selling anything, the desire's not there. The supply is probably too high for the demand. I don't know, man. I feel like this stuff always sells eventually. You just have to figure out what the price point has to be. And sometimes it's a lot lower than we think it is. I don't know. Don't overproduce either. I mean, know your limits. We talked about Chad Halker, 60 clutches this year, let's say. very manageable, did very well, made some incredible looking animals.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that I don't know, man. The more you produce is like the more you're gonna have to realize that you will have stuff that you don't need and don't want, or it just doesn't fit a purpose in your collection. And I just feel like if you do minimal stuff out there, as far as letting people know that you have stuff available, you're not gonna ever even know what it's like to even be a salesperson, and I just feel like they're, especially if you have stuff available and you're not vending. I feel like there's so many things you have to be doing to really sit back and look on why you're not like making sales. You know what I mean? And to like really point it at the market. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you could be an honest seller or a dishonest seller. I feel like there's a balance. Not that there should ever be any dishonesty, but like, I have real conversations with people all the time about what I think could happen in a market, but we can't always predict these things, right? If we knew what it was going to do, we'd do it ourselves. But I don't know, man. I think lack of confidence in what you're doing probably looks really bad behind the table. I think lack of confidence in what you're producing is going to only hurt your market. Sometimes you're selling the dream is the way people put it. When people see people that are successful, they want to know how they got there. And if they say, well, I've been breeding ball pythons for the last 10 years, people are going to buy into the dream. And the reality is a lot of money comes in the hobby and a lot of it fails. But there's a lot of people that come in when conditions are bad and are still sticking around and are at the top of their game. So not every business is going to make it. You got to find your balance. If your balance is not sales, find somebody in the hobby that is good at sales, work something out and have them move your animals for you. I don't know, man. Like I said, I think there's a way to make it work, but I also know that some people just can't make it work in this hobby.
You mentioned earlier how like ball python people, for the most part, have something else going on in their collection. But this year, especially, I'm seeing quite a bit of an aggressive transition from, all right, I'm a ball python breeder to now I'm this, right?
Yeah.
Has that been happening with the boas at all? Have you been seeing like an aggressive transfer from ball python people getting into boas? Because I gotta tell you, from what I'm seeing with ball pythons to green tree pythons, it's a little scary, first and foremost, especially the people I see doing it. And I'm like, the fuck, you failed at ball pythons. What do you think chondros are gonna be like? Are you kidding me? But I'm curious if you're seeing any of that kind of big switch in the boa game at all.
Well, the problem is I haven't had the most bows to sell. I know the interest is still there and I do middleman some stuff, but like I said, I was a little lighter on boa breeding last year, so I can go a little heavier this year. But that's a conversation I'll have with Rich tomorrow for sure. I mean, he'll have a better idea. He does a lot more work in that area than me at the moment, and he's got one of the more diverse collections. But I know money's always coming into boas like it is any other species. The money's just always flowing. And when you're talking about people getting into other stuff, there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, passion for something else. And number two, sometimes you see the guy next to you selling it all day long and you're like, well, fuck, I want a taste of that. And you go and you buy a couple and you raise them up. So I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways of working this market. And me going back to the colubrids, colubrid prices don't really move that much. A lot of them are kind of locked in. You can evaluate what that one rack is going to make you every year. And maybe that colubrid rack pays for your ball pythons when your ball pythons aren't selling. There's a lot of different balances in this hobby you can figure out, but you got to keep an eye on your market too. If nobody around you selling, figure it out together, figure it out on your own. People are going to set the market based on how well it's selling. You went to Fireball earlier. Fireball is going to produce a lot of basic DG stuff. They're going to set the market because they have the animals to set the market, and they put it where they wanted it and where they were comfortable. They were still making a profit. Every company is going to do that in this hobby if you understand what you're doing. But again, it's really hard to be a complete business guy in this hobby. Like, it's hard to know it. It's hard to be a good salesman, hard to be a good breeder, hard to be a good marketer. Very few guys come in swinging on all three. But if you swing on all three, I go back to Justin, man. Go look at his early videos standing in front of those racks he made himself. Yeah. Look at the couple of things he was working on. He had all the same ingredients and all the same resources everybody else did for the last 2 decades. Look where he is now compared to other people that have been doing the same amount of time as him, including myself. I think Ozzy got on the hobby the same year as me, and look where he is compared to where I was. I'm
curious, what year was that?
I think it was 2002 we both got in, honestly. I think he started buying the same year. Now, we didn't know each other, but I thought I saw something say he established in 2002.
was a junior in high school. That's crazy.
Nice. Not that much older than you, man. I got out of high school in 2002.
So many songs come to my head too, just from that era. It was such a like kind of obviously kind of cringy and corny like back then. But I'm just saying, like, it was a good time. It really was.
It was nice. It was real, man.
That was peak hockey for you, right? Like that around that time.
Oh, that was peak was probably about 4 years later when I moved to the Carolinas. That's when I kind of started playing. Just I tried out for a pro team in Charlotte for roller hockey, and I made it. But I was like fourth string. A couple guys in front of me got injured. The other guy in front of me had a couple goals scored against them. They put me in, and I played for about 5 years.
Before we do end tonight's show, I want people to know out there how big of a badass Dave is, other than keeping reptiles. Fucking guy still goes to Florida and plays hockey. I mean, that's pretty badass, bro. I mean, what does that do to your soul, Dave? I feel like that's important to you. You do it for a reason, and you told me it's not easy keeping up with these young bucks. But I mean, what you know? I think that's pretty awesome of you.
Well, you know what it is? I'm a lot more confident and more arrogant now at my older age than I was in my 20s. So where I lack in ability, I make up in arrogance. So like,
I can be dangerous.
I don't know what I'm. It could be. You know what? It's dangerous when you try to do a split and your hamstring pops behind your leg. So that was like,
dude.
Yeah, very first game, man, popped the hammy. But I got some of that like elastic black tape that holds it together, and it actually worked out really nice. But no, you got to know your limitations. I felt like shit for the next week, but man, it's still nice hanging a little bit,
Yeah, but I do feel it's so important for people to like, because you get people like these animals, man, like it could take over your life easily. To where like you don't even realizing you're not doing nothing for yourself. Like you're not stepping out of the bubble of the reptile stuff and kind of taking a fresh breath air and kind of resetting yourself. And I think like, that's why I stay committed to like at least training jiu-jitsu or something, because that's how I feel like, all right, like, I either got my ass kicked or I did good or something, but it's not involving reptiles. And I feel like more people should do that in the reptile world. Like they should go do something more reward feeling other than maybe producing really cool animals. I don't know. Because like I said, I have spoken to a lot of people over the last few years who've gotten themselves in some dark places, and and it happens. Like, right, we all go through life, and I just feel one of the biggest things that I feel people should do more is get outside more. Like go, fucking go find a cool hobby or a cool sport to play or something. Like go challenge yourself a little bit. And I think that kind of makes everything kind of come together more. I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like my balance, man. Like I said, I love going herping, love flipping over rocks. Feel like all through my 20s when I was playing hockey, I wasn't flipping any rocks over. And then when I stopped playing hockey, I started flipping rocks over again. I feel like I've always kind of had something else,
I love smoking weed. I know this is so random, but I like, that's the one thing my wife hates it. I love her more, but like, I don't like, I guess if she would told me, not that she would ever do this, but if she would ever make me choose, I would choose my wife. But man, I would be really depressed. I would be really, really sad. Like really like, I just think weed brings everything together. Am I wrong? I don't know.
No, I waited my entire life to start smoking weed. I think I was 33 or 35 when I first started smoking, and like I dabbled, here and there. Now I like to finish the night. I like it on the podcast. I think it kind of calms things down a little bit, and I talk about it all the time, and my friends know I love the weird shit that I write down at night after smoking. It's some of my favorite times of the night.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Call me crazy, but this was a good episode. Kind of crazy. 2024 is at its end. I mean, obviously, this won't be the last time we'll see Dave's face on the network. He has shows he has to do, obviously, but this was quite the last one-on-one on a Thursday night with you, my man. And I wouldn't want it to be with anyone else because, like I said, Dave, we have quite the bright future ahead of us. I have a good feeling, and I know by you keeping your commitment to this network and showing up, you're going to be bringing some of the best episodes. Not even you thought you'd be doing. I feel like, I don't know.
No, I'm not that I haven't put an effort into this, but I'm putting a lot more thought into this moving forward. And like I said, I'm looking forward to trying to put out a good product.
Who thinks I should get a microphone for Dave? Raise your hand in the chat, because I think you sound great right now, but I think I want
better.
I want this. I kind of want to, in your own way. We need to set you up a little bit. Maybe having more of a studio setting would get you even more fucking, this is serious. I don't know. What do you think?
I think I'm going to make little changes as we go. Let's use these headphones for like another week or two. We
gotta do something with your backdrop. I'm so sorry. I know it's iconic, but can we go next year maybe with the new backdrop? Maybe I'm down to help. Let me know what we can do.
I mean, I think I still have a unfiltered podcast backdrop behind that. I can just pop that out again. Either way.
Maybe for the last episode of the year. Dave, okay, first and foremost, going into next year, are you still going to be custom scales on Instagram? What's going on with your identity going into next year? Can we fucking just talk about that real quick before I let you go?
Well, I really don't want to have an identity crisis, but I'm going to probably stick it out with custom scales. I kind of wanted something a little more flamboyant, a little more my style. Adeline and Chris have whipped up a few logos and a few suggestions over the years that I have on the back burner, but custom scales is clean. I've always liked the idea about it. And, like I said, I've always liked when Barchek called them paint jobs when new combinations came out in ball pythons. And that was the whole idea with this. Custom scales when it comes to cars and paint jobs, man. So, I don't know. I like it. It's clean, right? It's Gucci. I made it look real Gucci. I thought you'd like that.
I'd rather you keep it and not change it. Because it's you, for sure.
I like it. I'm going to stick it out. I could use something a little sillier, but, I could always just have T-shirts on the side for silly shit.
Well, I can tell you what. I'm going to hold myself accountable next year. You're going to see a microphone with Dave Levinson, and we're going to see some merch. We're going to see some Dave Levinson merch. We're so overdue for Dave Levinson merch. It needs to happen. So
we're going to give it a shot. I'm going to put an effort into that, too. I got ideas.
Wait, but hold on. What's the I love Chads? Is that
Well, I don't want to ruin it, but the first shirt's going to be the I love hot Chads. Yeah, it's hot. It's hot. You'll like it. You know what I'm talking about.
Who's gonna get that though? Who out there that shows you be like, oh, I know what that means. Isn't that such an inside joke? I don't understand.
I think you're gonna hate how many people are gonna buy this shirt. I think it's gonna. And if it doesn't work out, it's going to fuck my self-esteem up. There might not be a second shirt. This has happened to me before.
Just throw them to the Chad Brown fucking merch. Just fucking
right in the Chad Brown bids, buddy, with the other 1,000 shirts, man. Forget it about them.
Guys, please go give him a follow. Custom Scales on IG. Find the Instagram link in the description below. Every Friday, man, please just tune in. Every Friday, if he's not on his episode, he's more likely going to be tapping in with Junior JMG Reptiles. But I love you, Dave. Thank you so much for everything you do for the hobby, being so cool and being my boy. And I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
That was fun. I'm glad we made time for this, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, give it up, guys. It's a wrap for Dave Levinson, Custom Scales, ladies and gentlemen. Later, Dave. Appreciate you, buddy.
Later, buddy.
Peace. Good times with my man, Dave. Never misses. Always a good time. Thank you to everyone who tapped in on this Thursday night. Very special, intimate, cool episode. So if you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button. Help me get my subscribers up. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you liked best at the entire episode. And of course, don't forget, join the Trap Talk Patreon family for all exclusive content. First link in the description below. And yeah, I had a really good time tonight. And I knew I would always, man. I appreciate all the love and support in the chats. And again, check all my sponsors in the description below. Okay. And don't forget, man, tomorrow it's going down. Morph Market platform. All right. Go to Morph Market on YouTube and set your reminder for the very first episode and the very first live ever to come out of the Morph Market YouTube channel. Sitting down with the one and only Mark Bailey of Mark Bailey Reptiles. 40 plus years being a full-time reptile keeper. Who else would you want to hear from? Are you kidding me? No, stains on this guy's name. This guy is the best in the game for sure. All right. So cannot wait. It's going to be great. Mark Bailey, Morph Market, big things popping. And of course, shout out to Krista over at Girls Who Love Reptiles podcast, which is happening Sunday. She's bringing Summer on the show. Guys, please show this girl some support. Krista's really a real deal girl in the hobby. She really loves the reptiles. All right. And she's going to be a force to be reckoned with. All right. Do not sleep on her. Krista, Girls Who Love Reptiles podcast every Sunday right here on the Trap Talk Reptile Network. Check it out. All right. You guys are all beautiful out there. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Thursday nights or evening or afternoon, wherever you're at. All right, but that's a wrap. Episode 575 in the books. See you guys here tomorrow on the Morph Market platform. All right, have a good night, and I'm out. Cheers.